The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. Sunday Blether time. I felt like I was going to nearly shout good morning Vietnam there, and then I realised that joke might not work as well as I thought, because usually you do it at 11:30, but of course, because I'm covering for Reegan, naturally I pushed it back a wee bit. So I need my beauty sleep, guys. I need my beauty sleep. That's what I'm calling it. I am joined though today, as always, on a Sunday Blether with the main man, MARC. CAIRNEY, how the devil are you, mate?
I'm doing great, mate. Yourself? How was your Saturday night?
It was good, man. I enjoyed the boxing. I enjoyed the speech by Paddy the Baddy after. I don't know if you've seen it. I thought it was inspiring stuff. When you combine honesty with compassion, you can't go wrong. And I thought it was delivered with both those barrels for a change. You know, it wasn't a full sort of show of emotion. It was absolutely on the money. It was genuine. And I think it's important that sports icons or upcoming icons, when they get the platform that they've got and they've got real life experiences that they can share, and it can maybe reach out and have helped one person alone, maybe last night, benefited from that, or it inspired one pal to pick up a call to someone. I thought that was impressive stuff, particularly in the heat of the moment where he could have just been celebrating his win, you know. So I really enjoyed that last night, and I thought the atmosphere, my mate was there. He said it was unbelievable at the O2. So well done, Paddy the Baddy. Up the top right, you know our local smoker, Scott Cameron. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, man. How about yourself?
Mate, that kit, iconic. We're going to talk with you about that kit later on and the memories that it brings us as well. See, you thought I didn't have a schedule, eh? I'm just writing it as I go, lads. Aye, and we will though talk about the Bumblebee era and what players, you know, come to mind, good memories, all that shit. We'll be talking about that later on. It's Sunday. It's a laid-back Blether on a Sunday, and we just talk all things Celtic. Brilliant to see so many of you as well in the comments, as always. Some regular faces like David Ferguson, Phil McGinley, Kaiser, Craig White Legends back, Kenny McCardle, he is there as well. And lads, remember to hit the like button. Remember to hit the subscribe button. If you want to become a member like some of the legends I just named there, you are absolutely, up to you. It'd be amazing if you did, because it helps the channel grow. As you know, we get like new microphones and stuff with the money that comes in. It paid for 4 microphones. You lads have seen the microphones that I've bought. Again, that's all been done with the very limited revenue that the channel brings in. So a massive thanks to every one of you that supported us so far. It's not a begging bowl thing, by the way. All the content will always be free. It's just your way to support it. And speaking of that, the 4 microphones, lads, this is now the week that leads up. This is the road, mate. The road to the Bullfrog. We're now into 7 days' time, mate. The butterflies will be there. We will be shitting ourselves. And I don't know necessarily I'll be shitting myself more about the football or the show. I'm really glad that we've picked Flag Day, mate, because see, the opening game of the season can be quite a nervy affair anyway, just because you know it's an occasion, you're raising the flag, you want to be making sure you start the season with a bang. There's sometimes new recruits in there, you know, that's another conversation, but normally there is, and you want to see how they kick off, and there can be a wee bit of apprehension. And do you know what, that might be good for us all, because it channels the nerves maybe for later on that night onto the team, which is always maybe a good thing. And before you know it, the game will be finished and it'll be showtime. And I cannot wait to meet you for a start, not just you two, everyone on the bus. The amount of people who comment on that are coming along as well is very humbling, and it'll blow you away. And I reckon the more folk I will show tomorrow than that were watching poetry yesterday, lads. Anyway,
I thought I dreamt that, to be honest.
Oh, I couldn't resist. I got sent to me in a DM by someone who I've never even met before, and I just, bless them.
Well, I was going to say it's surprising, but I'm not going to be surprised. I mean, but I think we'll move on. I agree with you when it comes to the first game of the season. Like, every team is just full of optimism, every set of fans, and it's Flag Day for Celtic. It's always a big occasion. It's like it just puts a full stop on last season's success, but also continues the work that's been made last season and pre-season and starts the ball rolling. I'm looking forward to the Bhoycie Bus live show. It's the first of many, and it's probably going to be like there were a few folk like shaking like a shitting dog, but apart from that, mate, it'll get the performance out of everybody that we want. You know what I mean? It'll be good, and this will be the last Sunday sesh before it, so next week's will be a bit different. Meeting all you guys. I've met a few already, but it'll be really good. And there'll be a few subscribers, etc., are going to travel through. It's in Motherwell, the Bullfrog, so we're all looking forward to it. And to be quite honest with you, like, it's took my attention a wee bit after the actual match itself, which is interesting. Anything that can take my mind off of Celtic for a minute or two is fucking good to my eyes and my wife's.
And your wife's. You just beat me to that, Mark.
You're going to say that, wouldn't
you? Scott, the Bullfrog, the 31st of July. Rumour has it you've decided you're staying for the weekend, mate. You're making a weekend out of it in Motherwell.
I've got to do it because of the buses, boys. You came with the concerts in Glasgow. The buses for Perth are like to Glasgow are like booked right out, so you've got to like book in advance. I'm going to be in Motherwell for 2 days.
You excited?
Some effort.
Aye.
You don't sound it. Tell me how excited you are, Scott.
Dale's going to tell everybody it's a fucking murder zone and all. You know what I mean? I'm going to stay there for fucking 2 days. You know what I mean?
Please,
you go to the match, Scott?
Huh?
You got to go to the match? Have you got a ticket to the match?
No, not going.
I'll see what I can do, mate. I'll see what I can do if you're a bit. Never know.
Anyway, rather than just talking about what's to come for the bus, you know, and it is exciting times. We're all buzzing with it. We are kind of, you know, compelled to talk about Glasgow Celtic, mate. That's kind of what the podcast was sort of built on, Mark. So I suppose at times I better get back to doing that than all that sycophantic, self-indulgent nonsense. Right. Yesterday we did a brilliant post-match push with Terry talking about the game between Celtic and Norwich, the final game of our pre-season campaign. Mark, sum up how the pre-season's been. Obviously, we rounded it off with a win there. I think you were informing me yesterday, our first home win in a pre-season friendly since 2018. But the campaign as a whole, I feel very positive about it. I'll be honest to you. I think he's got more minutes out of more players than I expected to see feature. And I think there's been a competitive edge to the fixtures. I think the teams that we've played have been of a good standard, if not a brilliant standard, but a good standard, which means challenging games, but neither us getting cuffed or us winning 10-0, I think, we're brilliant. I also think the volume of people that have been at the games, whether it be home or away, has been really conducive as well to, I think it's been a successful pre-season. But you take it away, mate, how you feel about it.
No, I totally agree. I feel like I think they've handpicked some of the opponents because I think they were trying to get, like, this is the first season away we've not had. We normally use pre-season to kind of build ourselves up to Champions League qualifiers or UEFA Cup qualifiers. So we have to kind of try and sneak in more competitive sort of friendly matches. And I think Blackburn, Legia, Norwich, and I keep forgetting their name. The other team we played with, we won 4-2. So they were pretty tasty affairs. I think the challenges were pretty meaty.
I had my porridge this morning, Mark.
Was that, mate? You porridge, did you?
I said I had my porridge this morning, mate. I'm ready to go.
You want to go, mate?
I'm going to Strava right out the bat.
But as I built in it, and with Sullivan, and that was the first time we won in 4 years. I think we did play like Hibs and Ross County, I think it was, and during the COVID pre-season, but that was 2 games in like 3 days. It was a mini pre-season. It was rubbish. We won 8 games, but totally counting. But so the home fans haven't had any much to cheer about in terms of friendlies for a few years. So that was good to see us get a win yesterday. I thought the performance over. Yeah, I drew something. See, I was at the game the other day there, the Blackburn game. I didn't go yesterday, and I thought to myself, when was the last time we won? And I was like, God. So I was just trying to think back of the scores, and I think it was 2018. I mean,
That's
God,
wild.
that is wild. And like you just assume that we just pad out pre-seasons with wins after wins, but it's not always the case, especially at home. Like Celtic Park, we've touched on this. Celtic Park, when it's half full or half empty. I'm a half empty guy, Bhoycie. I think you all know that, don't you? It takes away that edge for the players, and you can kind of see that. But I think with the atmospheres, and especially the away games, it's been a wee bit intimidating. I think the players always rise to that occasion. We've got big team players and big game players, and I think for pre-season to have went no defeats, we scored a lot of goals. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers made more mistakes pre-season than he did last season, but I think he's just getting it. I think he's just getting them out of his system, Bhoycie. I think he's just the guy can't be totally perfect, so it just reminds us all that he has got a mistake in him. But I think every player that wears a Celtic cap is of a certain level, but they're going to make mistakes, and I hope that. Well, I'm quite confident that was just a case of him just having a wee bit of rusty. You know what I mean? Having a wee bit of, building up to the big event next Sunday, and he's probably nervous about the Bhoycie bus and Motherwell and all, mate. He's probably got that in his mind. You know what I mean? Let's be honest.
I think so, mate. I think you're right. Scott, have you enjoyed the pre-season, mate? Have you enjoyed the relaxed nature of how we've not had to worry about these upcoming qualifiers? We'd be in the midst of it already most seasons, Scott. This time it's just been a nice cakewalk along through the summer. Jota took an extended world tour, and now Celtic freeze in this Saturday, Scott, having had brilliant rest, good fixtures, and a nice relaxing pre-season. A real pre-season, I would call it.
It's been definitely better than it has been the last few years. Come on, I mean, what was it we scored? Was it 20 goals we've scored or something?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Come on, it's like, so it's been good. It's been positive, like, but I'm still not sure about Joe Hart. Like, I mean, yesterday he nearly got caught out with a back pass and run along his goal line. Come on,
Well, we were talking about this, Scott, yesterday with Terry, and I was intrigued yesterday, and I don't know if you picked up on this, Matt, right? That Joe Hart was making a deliberate sort of almost half sprint the second Celtic won the ball. It didn't matter which area of the park they won the ball, but he would make this sort of beeline to split the centre halves, and he's almost in line with them basically, effectively. Now, for me, I'm getting used to it, and I'm trying my best to adapt it because I believe that the manager knows 10 times more about setting up formations and tactics and drills than I ever will, right? So you've got to be on side with it, but you can't lie when you see it. It's unusual, shall we say, right? And it'll take a wee bit of getting used to. Is that concerned you at all, the fact that Joe Hart seems to be even a further 10 yards further than what he was last year, which at times he was out quite a bit as well?
I think what happens is when he comes out so far, he gives another option, so that kind of frees up Callum McGregor on the press. when Celtic are getting pressed, if he's sitting further up on the park or Celtic are on the ball, with him so far up and almost within 10-15 yards passing access of the centre backs, the strikers are going to have to go to somebody, and they'll no presses 3-4 men, so it frees up Callum McGregor for an easy pass through the middle, and you'll see a lot of that, which is good because Callum McGregor is an excellent turner on the ball. He's very good at taking that wee half turn and facing the opposite direction straight away.
Does it allow Callum McGregor to be in a position for the forward effectively, even though he's still fulfilling the number 6 role? Is that what this is about?
Mate. I think so, mate. I think just what I'm watching, just using my eye, boys. Yeah, I mean, somebody with a bit more tactical nous would probably explain it a bit different. A bit of vantage point. Although I do like my vantage point. I think you can kind of see roughly what they're doing. But I don't know if you remember, the Hearts sitting very deep. And it was a match 2 years ago when Ange was in Japan, and they lost 2 goals in one match from the halfway line. You know, and that seemed to have been a slight theme for 2 goals in one match, mate. And so I'm kind of. Now, have you noticed there was twice our opponents tried it pre-season there? 2 of them were off target, and I think Aloha tried it last year. I think John Hartson famously said they should have scored, but that's another story. I think he says a lot of things like shite. Connor Salmon, that's it. God, I mean, God, if he scored,
us for that.
I know, and it's even scored that, mate. He could play in the NBA. You know what I mean? He'd be a basketball player. I mean, you see it on that programme on Saturday mornings, and there's no goalkeeper halfway line. You're talking world-class players here, and very rarely any of them get to anywhere near the goals. It's a difficult art. But unless they're Charlie Adam, that is. I mean, God. But anyway, I do think... but I'm a big believer in horses for courses, or horses for courses, whatever you want to say it. And I don't think that's going to come into their play week in, week out. I think Joe Hart is going to be a wee bit, vulnerable. But see the 2 goals, we lost a goal pre-season there. That was a very, very bad pass by Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Joe Hart sprinted along the line. And what happened is he made a bit of an error. He should have kicked the ball out of the park, but he didn't, and they lost possession. We lost a goal. See, yesterday it was the exact same thing happened. A very, very, very bad pass across the goal. Now, defenders, when they're training, what happens is they tell defenders, centre backs especially, when they're making a back pass, don't ever hit it towards the goal. Hit it either side of the goal for obvious reasons, in case the keeper trips. So there is method to our defenders hitting it across the goal, but I just think Joe Hart isn't the fastest player, and we've seen the videos of Joe Hart as an England keeper and Man City keeper, and he's kind of scrambling across, and you've got to play to the keeper's strengths, and you don't leave him vulnerable for the sake of it. And I feel like Seagrass might be a better option for that. I've not seen much of Seagrass, to be honest, apart from Dundee United. But I do think him sitting so deep, Bhoycie, or even if he's not sitting so deep, as long as he's in easy passing access for our centre backs, it's going to allow, especially in Scotland, you're probably going to see 1, maximum 2 players press on us. I mean, Rangers under Gerrard and Van Bronckhorst, I've noticed when they're pressing us, they sit strongly on our fullbacks.
They do.
They don't commit. They don't commit too far through the middle, and that's for the obvious reason, because most keepers will take the path to the side and try and build from the back. But what that also does is, if you've got a team that's well drilled on handling a press, it opens up areas all over the park, you know what I mean? And teams in Scotland won't commit too far. You maybe only see 1 player pressing or 2 players pressing. Then when you've got that other option, boys, and almost like a triangle, it's going to free up Callum McGregor to slot in and take that ball. And if it's sharp enough and it's fast enough and it's crisp enough, it's going to give Celtic. I've been looking forward to seeing Celtic season 2 under Ange. I mean, you've spoken about it, and this might be an evolution of the team. I think maybe a part of it might be we've always been breaking from the back very quickly, but the manner in which we break in the areas where we use in the park might be changing slightly, because last year was all about width. We had a lot of width last season, but with Hatate and O'Reilly and Turnbull as well, we've got a lot of good passes of the ball. And I reckon this might be a feature this season. And I even seen Moritz Jens yesterday. He came forward and he sprayed this beautiful pass, maybe 15, 20 yards, but it was the most difficult pass on the park, and it was right through the middle, and it set David Turnbull to 20, 25 yards from goal. It was a great pass. And I thought normally that ball would be going wide. So maybe this is the evolution we're going to see under Ange in season 2 is more play through the middle and Callum McGregor, as I see, getting that extra space.
I think that you talk a lot of sense there, Mark. And I wonder, Scott, if he's touching on something here. I think we are going to see Celtic line up and play even more, whether it's the next phase of Ange's evolution, I don't know, or whether this is just him going, well, I'm not going to play the exact same way as we did last season because you become predictable. You know, you've got to mix it up a wee bit. And as we've always said on this show, people who get caught up that Ange can only play one way and only knows one way, and they've not been paying attention to this guy. You know, like it's quite obvious. You can't manage Scott for 26 years and not know many different ways to set up your team, many different strategies for your team to play, many different ways to attack other teams, whether it be out wide predominantly last year and get loads of goals from Jota and Abada by having them on their weaker foots, cutting in and you know it was brilliant to watch. This year, with the ball playing midfielders we've got, an up to speed Hatate who looked immense yesterday. Let's be completely honest on this. He did look immense. He looked like he'd almost went up another gear, even from when he'd first joined Celtic. I've been really impressed. Again, you've got to caveat that with, you know, pre-season. If we don't get carried away with the results, let's not get overly carried away with what we've seen individually. But Scott, in terms of the setup, I think we can read a bit into that because the whole point of pre-season friendlies is you're tweaking your system, you're trying new things. Are Celtic in the next stage, do you think, of an evolution under Ange?
Aye, definitely, mate. You can see what he's trying to do, like, but it gives me the fear. Honestly, honestly, watching that yesterday, it was like,
I think you speak for a lot of folks, Scott.
I'm used to. Come on, I mean.
And Scott, the thing is, you're not alone in thinking that, pal. I read the comments. The comments come flying in, and believe you me, I'm as I say, I'm kind of just probably in the half glass full bracket of it, Mark. To be honest, because I just think the guy's got a lot of credit in the bank. You know, certainly a lot more credit from me in the bank than probably most now, and he earned it, the bastard. You know, and fair play. So
we're going to get caught, boys, by a big team. Somebody's going to catch us if we keep playing like that. Like, if you keep overdoing it and that, you know.
That's a great.
I think something, Scott. It's going to happen though anyway, mate. And I know, and I don't want to see us getting cuffed 5-0. I think none of us do. No. But I think see to learn, Scott. I think to learn as a club, as a team, you're going to have to take some of these cuffers on the chin. You know what I mean, mate? And I think Brendan Rodgers.
Mark, I was going to ask a question, the next question, right? So I do apologise for cutting in. You Scott's kind of teed this up very, very well. Do you see us, Mark, lining up the exact same in the Champions League? They're playing that same sort of strategy that we're seeing right now. Can you imagine Celtic playing that in a Champions League away tie at the Nou Camp, for argument's sake? They're not even in it, probably. Now I've said that, but you know what I mean.
I know I would give you the heebie-jeebies, mate. It would give you sleepless nights, and that's the sort of nights I go for a long walk, mate. To be quite honest with you, I care too much to watch us get beaten and be happy with it. But what I will say is, what we've got this season now is a fully fit Giakoumakis, and he's going to provide an outball for Celtic. And the way we attack, we've been pretty good in the counter-attack against Real Betis and Bayer Leverkusen last year. Pretty decent teams. That's probably Champions League level teams, really. If you look at that, maybe no top level Champions League, but a kind draw might see us play teams like that at that level. And so Giakoumakis, I think, will play the big games for Celtic, and I think he'll play derby matches. I think that's fair to say that. And he's going to provide that outball. And if Celtic naively go into these matches and don't learn from the mistakes they made last year, I'd be surprised. I mean, you won't see Joe Hart sitting 20 yards out, Bhoycie. You maybe see Joe Hart maybe maraud forward if Celtic maybe have a corner or whatever, but to maybe 20, 30 yards from his own goal. But you'll not see him coming out. And I certainly don't think you'll see Greg Taylor as much forward. I think he's going to be a starting left back this season. I don't think you're going to see much of Greg Taylor going forward as much. I think we were exposed a lot during the right, I felt, last season, and a lot of the crosses were coming from the right. And it's not happening, Greg Taylor. Opposition managers pick weaknesses. I think either side of our defence is a weakness, to be quite honest with you. As much as I like Blether and Juranovic, they can be caught out. And Greg Taylor was targeted in quite a lot of matches, and so I think you might see us with a wee bit more of a pragmatic approach in the Champions League. I think you'll not see like a flat back four and defending like that, but what you will see is that we'll have four at the back, and you'll probably see us build more from midfield than defence.
I think it's very interesting, Scott, because and I've got to give you credit for bringing it up, because in Europe, I'm obviously, I'm not sceptical about our chances of winning the Champions League, because that's not even in the equation. What is in the equation, though, is what we can do in the group stage, and we should be targeting third place, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Now, I love this from the live chat, and we're going to go to the live chat because it's busy today. There's over 85 watching live already. Sunday brunch time. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. I really do appreciate it. But enough of that. David Ferguson shows one side of the debate that I think there are many people on, right? Unlike some people, I'll read it out, Mark. I forgot you can't. I'll read it. Don't worry, my man. Unlike some people, I have complete confidence in what Ange and the players are capable of. I honestly think we will play the same with some very small tweaks. That does give me the fear a wee bit, right? That does give me the fear, because I do then come to the other side of the debate, and it's been had in the live chat, and keep it up because I love it. David has been brilliant when every contribution he's made in the live chat. He's always bringing something to the table, bit of substance to it. I like all that. But here we get the other side, and it's another regular. Brown Warrior comes in, right? And he says, Scott, you need to be far more pragmatic in the Champions League. Neil Lennon proved that. Rodgers failed because he had no plan B. Scott, do Celtic have a plan B for the Champions League this year? Or are they going to do what David said? And are they going to just slightly tweak it, but go much the same?
I don't think there is a plan B, Bhoycie. I mean, he's been playing with us since the start of pre-season, so it makes you think that he's going to stick with it all the way through, no matter who you're playing.
That was giving you the fear?
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, because it was going all right yesterday, and then you get like one bad pass, and then Joe Hart turns around and runs towards the goal line, and then stops and runs right along it. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I think he's been playing this for the start of pre-season, so it just makes me think that no matter if it's like League, Cup, Champions League, he's going to stick to the same way of playing.
That's not the same way of playing, but is it? But I don't know if that's the same way of playing, Scott. That's individual moments in a match. It doesn't define the way.
But the mistakes that happen just every other game. There's always like at least one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you think the mistakes are because of the style of the play, Scott? Is that what you're saying? They're kind of correlated.
Possibly, like you say, Joe Hart's not quick enough, and then you get like an overhit pass, and it goes back to him, and he gets caught out and panics, and then before you know it, you've got somebody like Timo Pukki yesterday. Everybody knows he's quick. He was right on him. He could just keep it anywhere. You know what I mean?
It was a plan that as well, wasn't it, Scott? You could tell.
Yeah. But they obviously watched us and knew we were going to do that. So they're like switched on and ready to go.
That'll only grow as well, Scott, won't it? That will only grow. But of course, that's not because necessarily we stand still either. I'm sure Angel will be more than aware that teams will start realising that we'll do that. They'll start playing away. Is it, as Ridiculizer says, Scott, maybe just a way to taunt the opposition into coming out a wee bit more? That gives us that space. Watch Kyogo, watch Maeda, watch Jota, Abada, whoever it may be, fly into space, because what they don't get against Scottish teams, Scott, is much space. At the back, they sit so deep. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it might be a tactic, Bhoycie, because you've seen them out like when Norwich were doing it yesterday. I mean, see the amount of time Hatate and that had in the ball and that, and then and Jota and that. I mean, there were spaces open up everywhere. You know what I mean? And like we're on the front foot right from the start, and we're just like creating. We just I'd rather like Ralston played yesterday because Juranovic didn't have much like outball. There was not much of like a final pass for him.
Let's talk about Juranovic, Mark CAIRNEY. Juranovic yesterday to me looked off the pace. Now, this isn't us trying to be negative. You can only comment it with your eyes see, and we're going to be, we spoke at length yesterday about the impact Maeda's had, and things like this. So, believe you me, there's plenty of positive debate. We spoke about the healthy competition at length on many shows now, to be fair, between Ralston and Juranovic. I didn't like listening from Juranovic yesterday. I think he looks to me like he's had a longer summer off the pace than the rest. I expected him to be a wee bit better on the ball yesterday. I thought he had opportunities to show his quality, where there was one final ball that he put in the box, 1,000,000 miles an hour. It was like a rocket when there was no need. He had time and space to put in a good ball there. He had options to try and pick out as well. There was also that heavy touch, which to me looked very much a pre-season friendly touch, albeit I would rather it was not the final pre-season friendly touch. Do you know what I mean? I just think he looks a wee bit.
Yeah, Bhoycie, do you think he's his head turned by the speculation?
I think he's only human. That's what I would say to him. And do you know what? See, he's a footballer at 26 years old. It's a short career. He was probably earning, Scott, let's be honest, $5,000 a week at Legia Warsaw. He's probably trebled that come to Celtic. He's probably thinking very similar again, that he'll be able to treble that again, Scott, at an Atletico Madrid. He said in his interview, when he was asked if the interest was true, he said, I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm very happy at Celtic. And do you know what? There's two ways you can look at that. You can look at that in the negative light and say, he's had his head turned by saying that. Or you could look at it as refreshing honesty, which I'm not always against. Does it affect then his performances on the park? I think so. Lanky67 was in the chat yesterday. I'm going to agree with him, and I'll say it. I have a hunch he might be away out the door by the end of the window. I don't know why, but I think if anyone was to go before the end of the transfer window, anyone was to, I know this conversation is now going away with the fairies already.
I'm going to bother me, Bhoycie. I'm going to bother me at all if he's left Celtic. I do think that he's been turned. I feel like he's pre-season, and it's only pre-season, so let's just get that out of the way first. We all know it's only pre-season, but if you can praise a player for playing good, you can praise a player. You can also criticise him if he's not playing up to his normal standards. So when I see him, when I see him in pre-season, I've just seen him kind of looking at the sky and kind of like scratching his head when guys have been coming from behind him and overtaking him, and he's been spraying 15-yard passes out the park. And to be quite honest with you, I'm a big fan of Ralston, and it sounds like a confirmation bias every time that he does something good, and I applaud him. But I just think that he offers so much more than Juranovic. If we get 10, 15 million for him, I would take it and run. I mean, I think Atletico Madrid is fantasy land for him. If he gets offered a job there, I'd take it. I think he's top half Championship, bottom half Premier League maximum level. I'd be very surprised if he ended up at a big club. I really would. I think Celtic is a very peak of his powers in terms of club size. I'd be shocked if he ended up somewhere better. But on your point about Juranovic, his performances, he is only human. So if your agent's talking to you in the background and saying,
which they all are now, Matt. This is the modern way.
That's their job, Bhoycie. I mean, if you've got a client and you can tell your client that they can treble their salary and also treble their commission, then there's obviously going to be a wee bit of this guy's 26. He's probably only got maybe 2 contracts left. Let's be honest. And if maximum probably if his next one's 4 years, it'll probably be his last big contract. But I feel like he has been turned, and it's fair. I mean, if a guy feels like he's maybe there's things behind the scenes that he's maybe trying to get himself a move, or his agent's talking to other teams, and I don't think Celtic would be hard to deal with. I think Celtic would see it, and I think there's a lot of people that would be crying at the side of the pitch when if he left, crying through the fancy. Anyway, but I think they would be disappointed. But to be quite honest with you, Bhoycie, I mentioned Turnbull, and who's actually impressed me, please. And I mentioned Turnbull as somebody who could go without upsetting the dynamic. I think we could replace Juranovic just as easily as we could replace Turnbull. So, in terms of, I've already, we might come to this point, but And Sunday, for me, Aberdeen, Ralston starts. And I don't think anybody on our chat at least disagrees with that.
Danielle is on the rampage, guys. So we've got to indulge Danielle's points. Oh, she's not happy. Danielle will be there on the 31st as well. Absolute legend of the Bhoycie bus. And we're always thinking of Danielle. Danielle's, it's mental what she goes through on a day-to-day basis, Mark. We probably just take it for granted because she's so upbeat in the group chat, always up for talking about the football, having a laugh, being positive. But, she's a superstar, man. And we'll get to the comments though, because she hates us, right? I'm telling you that right now. That's why I'm trying to butter her up. JJ will come good, as will Cameron Carter-Vickers. You keep saying you don't look much into pre-season yet so many people are hammering him. It's a fair point, because if we don't read into pre-season that much, why is JJ getting it tighter than what has been probably, you could say, a disappointing run for Cameron Carter-Vickers, like you said.
Mark, just get it away. He's great.
You said at the top of the show, Cameron Carter-Vickers have made more mistakes in pre-season than what he did the whole of last season. So
I think he did, Bhoycie, aye. But I think he's just getting out of the way. I think he's a class act. He's very much a defender that I love. He's probably, out of all our defenders, he's by far my most comfortable and favourite player to
what is the
Celtic
CCV
shirt.
excuse, Danielle says, Mark? She says he's been just as bad as Juranovic. What's his excuse?
I've not got an excuse for the boy. I just think the guy is not perfect, and I think if you play 50 matches and you make mistakes in 4 or 5 of them, the all averages tell you that you've probably done a good job. Juranovic, as much as Danielle's class, and she's always good to talk to on the chat. I mean, it's all about opinions, and she has hers about Juranovic, and I have mine. And to be quite honest with you, I've never walked away from a Celtic match, and I'm going to ask you to this if I can.
Of course.
Have you ever watched a Celtic match and turned off the TV or walked out the stadium and thought, wow, what a game Juranovic had there?
I've not, no.
I've said that about Ralston, but sorry, you used to carry on with that. Sorry.
I said we spoke about it last season, and by the way, this isn't hammering of Juranovic.
Not at all.
But I take that, if you look at the question at face value, the question is, have you ever walked away going, wow, he was amazing today? I'm not entirely sure I have.
No, but I've said that about Kyogo, Maeda, Hatate, O'Reilly, Rogic last season. I've even said that God, Beaton was good today. Juranovic, he might be one of the players that you don't notice, which is a good thing. But I don't know, mate. I'm not slating the guy. I see if I'm slating the guy, I'm coming across wrong. I just think we've got a better option there. Because our fullbacks are told to go forward, right? So if you're assuming that your manager's asked you to do a certain job, and that job is going forward, I don't think there's any debate who the better player is going forward.
Final ball from Ralston last year. Let's spin it and let's talk about the positives of having a Tony Ralston start next week, Scott, because what you've got to give Ralston is his numbers didn't lie last year either. It wasn't just important goals. There was real quality in his goals. His end product, Scott, is what really, I think, surprised, impressed, and contributed massively to our title-winning season. You look at Ralston's final ball at times last year. I couldn't believe that was the same guy that I was, in my mind, having nightmares about. Being Celtic's number 1. But what was I basing it on? Fuck all. I hadn't watched enough of him to have an opinion. You're conditioned, mate, to think Ralston is Diddy. He's a brickie. That's how he's described. He's not described ever as a Scottish internationalist. Scottish goal-scoring internationalist now. He's never described as Scottish internationalist Tony Ralston. He's the brickie. It's not how other players in that squad are described, Scott. You're conditioned to think Ralston's of a lesser level. Let's talk about why Tony Ralston would be a very comfortable pick to start a week today. Sorry, I said Saturday or Sunday, a week today.
I mean, he's got a lot of dig. He's got a lot of passion for a start, and then, like you say, the final ball 9 times out of 10, it hits the target. It goes where it's meant to go. I mean, like yesterday, Juranovic for a couple of balls that were just too much power on them. And I mean, it's just like his delivery is just like 100% better. Full stop. I think there's more threat when he's running down the right hand side.
Do you think the debate is more? I think Juranovic is probably a lot more pleasing on the eye, Mark, as a player, right? I think he's got a slicker technique. I think undoubtedly he's got tactical awareness. I'm sure he is more well versed in these sort of modern era styles of football. I was getting, someone was saying earlier, formation's an outdated word, so we'll call it formation, set up, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. I mean, geez, but the type of tactics that Ange deploys, I think Juranovic is definitely more adept at, or has got more experience doing, and therefore I think he can go about his business and, it's relatively comfortable for him. And I think people are mentioning the 3-0 win and he pocketed Ryan Kent. I think that we have to give kudos to that. He was excellent that night. He had a fantastic game, and I'm not disputing that. But the case for Ralston starting this week as well, Mark, is the final ball is going to be so important this season. Now, we've spoke about Kyogo being on a different wavelength at times to Celtic, and I thought, ironically, yesterday, I am going off on so many tangents today, but I thought, ironically, yesterday, O'Reilly did a wee sort of half-turn first-time pass for Kyogo that I think 9 times out of 10 Kyogo's made the run for, and it was almost like yesterday he expected no one to be on that wavelength, so he didn't make the move. He went, "Oh, you've done it this time." So the players are making an effort, but these guys need the service, because we've got players that are first-time finishers like Chaos Giacomakis, and that is who he is. Chaos is the FTF, the first-time finisher, man. He needs quality deliveries in that box. We're going to be dependent on it, particularly if we're playing, Mark, like you were saying earlier, more maybe through the middle a lot of the time. Then it's going to be the overlapping fullbacks that give you potentially that final ball into the box. I think Greg Taylor's ball the last 3 months of the season dramatically improved, but Ralston's was constantly impressive from match day one, and it was a pleasant surprise, wasn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you remember like some of the key moments for last season, like Tynecastle. I know they lost the match, but he scored at Tynecastle. He scored at Easter Road. He scored away from home at Real Betis. He scored the last minute winner against CAIRNEY. A match that probably set us on to win the league. If you draw that match, you're 7 points behind going into Christmas, and the league's over. I actually think that Ange said as much after the event, as in like after last season finished, and his performances have been great. I mean, I was the same as you. I didn't actually understand why he was looked at so disparagingly. I mean, he four starts for Celtic in 2018, and I think so. What we've learned is
I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it.
Boys, we all did, and we see the optics and we say he couldn't get a game for St Johnstone. But from what I read, he'd actually had large spells of injury at St Johnstone, and as I've touched on before, St Johnstone were the wrong team to send him to, because you don't send a right back who's, as we've noticed, good at going forward, and that's his game. You don't send him to a team that's sitting for 80% of the match defending. You don't send a striker who's you don't send a striker who goes down the channels and send him to a team who's fighting relegation and use him as a target man. I mean, it gets sold down the river by a very not caring Celtic management team who just wanted him out the door, didn't care where he went to. But that's another story. I think his performances last season, he has got to be starting on an equal playing field for any other player. He's got to be classed as either A or B. Who'll be starting here? Is it him or him? I don't think he's second in the pecking order. I think Ange might see Juranovic as the number one, but I think that's more because he looks more cultured, and maybe Ange sees more in what he wants to do going forward in Juranovic and what me and you and a lot of people who haven't got blinkers on see. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like really in love with Juranovic, and as I say, they stand at the side of the pitch crying when he walks by them and all the rest of it. And they're never going to get an unbiased opinion on how he's playing. And whereas Ralston, he's actually went the opposite.
I think there's a loving on him.
Yeah, and he's went on the opposite, boys. So he's actually took a fan base who, on face value, had no faith in him, and he said, "You know what? I'll show yous." And for a fan base to totally flip, almost to a man, from Ralston being a brickie, a donkey, you know what I mean? And the narrative itself was disgusting. I thought the guy was. I think the guy laughed it off, but I think it was a very good thing. The Celtic fans labelling him like he was you know, less of a player than anybody else. But he took that and used it as motivation. And I kind of get the impression that he's going to be one of these guys that, see in the training park, he probably runs up and down that pitch all day. And on a match day, I mean, if anybody's ever wanted to grasp his opportunity with both hands, it's Anthony Ralston. And I think he's a Celtic boy out in the park. He's maybe no go at the CAIRNEY love about him because he's no as good, but he's just a boy that's just a Celtic supporter, and he's given every last inch for the club.
Long may it continue. Now, another youth product we've seen, Scott, yesterday was Stephen Welsh. Now, obviously, I think Mark was quite impressed. He was telling us off there with the contribution from Moritz Jens. Is it Jens or Jens?
Jens.
Jens. It sounds more German, doesn't it?
You keep me right, mate. You keep me right, mate. I didn't actually know. So Moritz Jens, he's featured for sort of 20 to 30 minutes yesterday. Stephen Welsh has obviously started almost every pre-season friendly so far, I think. Who starts at Aberdeen in those two? Do you think? I think right now it's Stephen Welsh would be the favourite to start, but it all's going to depend how Moritz Jens shows up in training over the next 7 days. They'll assess his fitness. Is he up to speed? Because I think the good thing is, and Andrew's probably again done this pretty cleverly, to be fair to him, he's given all the starts to Stephen Welsh, right? And then he knew he was bringing in another centre half. He just didn't know when, right? So see what time he's brought in, what would normally be a first team player in Moritz Jens. And I think Jens is here to challenge Starfelt all the way for that jersey. It'll be one or the other with Cameron Carter-Vickers. But the thing is, Andrew's obviously known how we do transfers and things. I can't help that, Dig, it's true. That this guy, whoever it is, whether it be Jens was his number one target, I'm guessing, he's not known at what point he's going to be bringing him in pre-season, Scott. So he's had to go Welsh, just keep starting Welsh, because the chances are Chris Julian will be off ski at some point. Yeah. Give all the starts to Welsh. So the good thing is we've got a Stephen Welsh that's up to speed, if not overly impressive again at the weekend. I'm not sure that I've got that much faith in Stephen Welsh being. Nah. He's very young, by the way, but I just think if he's starting league games at this stage of the season now, starting the league campaign with a bang, Scott, cannot be underestimated. We won't get away with 3 wins from 7 this time round.
Nah, I think Jens definitely starts on Sunday. Definitely. I mean, when he came on, he looked composed. He was solid. Good range of passing. I mean, as soon as he came on, he was throwing himself right into the tackles right away.
He was.
Putting blocks in that right in. Come on, I mean, he looks athletic as well. He's quite a big guy as well. Come on, I mean, he's got height.
Did you think he just looked like Chris Julian a wee bit?
Yeah, maybe a wee bit more agile, yeah, maybe a tiny bit smaller, but aye.
Very alike. I thought it was like Ange's playing the O'Reilly Rogic trick, Mark too. I was like, didn't he put them on the park at the same time? It'll be if we're doing a fan cam live, it'll be a nightmare.
when he came on, he was like the first 3 balls at the box. He dealt with them, no problem. I mean, he got it away. You know what I mean?
His first challenge on the cross, there was a cross in the box within a minute, and he made it look so simple, and that's one of the things he's good at. I watched just some of his highlights, and he's tackling is
ridiculous. He's just come in there, Mark, and he's saying there's a video up on YouTube of his every touch on his debut. It's very good. I watched that last night as well. That's funny. Sorry, on you go. It's just funny you were saying that.
That's all right, mate. And I agree with him that his tackling was brilliant. He looks like the kind of player that Chris Julian thinks he is. I think he looks like an upgrade to Chris Julian, whereas I think Stephen Welsh looks more like Stephen Hawking, to be quite honest with you. That guy just honestly, I've not got any disrespect for the guy, even though all I do is disrespect him. But I think the guy.
Disrespect for the guy, even though all I do is disrespect.
If I met him inside Starbucks, I'd probably have a wee tear in my eye. I would say, you know what I mean. But I just think, and it's not the boy's fault. You know what I mean. I can't play for Celtic. I'm not good enough, and I think he's going to just have to accept the level that he's at. You know, and any time Celtic bring a player in, he's going to be above him in the pecking order. I would actually hope so. But it's on your point about Welsh or Jens, I totally agree with you. I think if he was in last week rather than just the other day there, I think he would have he'd have started against Norwich yesterday. And I think the only thing that might hold him back from a start on Sunday is the game time that he's had maybe pre-season with his other club. I don't know if he's featured much. I don't know. But he looked pretty fit to me. He didn't look like he was leggy. In fact, there was on that video which showed him going forward and he made that beautiful pass to Turnbull, and I thought that guy looks like somebody who's very athletic. He looks very fit. He's not like these Scottish players and we see them well the reputation they've got when they're sitting on holiday with cheeseburgers. These guys are constantly working. You know what I mean? Look at Hatate and Kyogo. They went to train with their old clubs during pre-season there just to keep their fitness up when they were on holiday. And I thought that's a modern day football player. And this guy looked sharp to me, and I think looking at how physical Aberdeen are, because we struggled against Aberdeen last season. They finished the bottom half of the table and they could have got relegated, but for a couple of decent results gone their way. You know, they could have onto that wee sticky patch where all the teams have been down, all the teams that get sucked into the playoffs ended up. And I think that's for me that's the reason why we need physical players, and that's the reason why I would start him. And also I think as a curveball, as much as I love Kyogo, I think there's certain matches that Giakoumakis starts, and if they go for physicality, and because Aberdeen are going to kick us and push us and pull our hair, all the rest of it, all the things they do, and I think Giakoumakis fits into that. He can play all day like that, and I think also that this big guy looks like he can handle a challenge. But see, he's tackling. If you saw his best bits, his tackling's insane. What a tackler the boy is! He actually reminded me a wee bit of big Ramon Vega. I thought he was a cracking tackler of the ball. And when I was watching these wee highlights, don't get me wrong, his tackling is really good, boys. And as you remember, Vega was like that as well. I thought he was quite underrated as a tackler.
He was an excellent player. The thing is with Jens, I'm actually excited about the Jens signing now. One player looked leggy, another player who just recently signed don't even need to mention his name. But on Moritz Jens, I think being paired with the other signing that we made was almost a wee bit unfair on him, because I actually think Moritz Jens is a signing of a blueprint we have used from last season that worked extremely well for the football club. The first option to buy loan deal. We're seeing it again, Scott. I think that is a positive move by Celtic. I've got no issues with it at all. I might be the first to clamour for this club to spend money because I know they've got it sitting there and it frustrates the life out of me. But what I will not criticise is when things come off and they work well for the club, them repeating that trick. And undoubtedly, the Cameron Carter-Vickers, the Jota blueprint of get them in on loan. But do you know what we're now doing as a progressive club? We get them on loan and we've got that first option in there. We've got a fee already now, rubber stamped with the other club. Anyone who thinks you don't need to have funds for that, by the way, needs to go get their head checked. How can you agree a fee with a club but not have the money to do it and base it on the Champions League? Do you think Benfica are daft? Do you think Spurs are daft? They're going to have ever done that. The money was ring-fenced. Right, so anyway, enough on that. That just boils my piss when people don't understand that, you know.
I know.
But we are doing this again, Scott. We are 100% following a pattern that I think could bring real rewards for this club in the future. I like trying before you buy, you know, because see, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out with Jens, just to kind of contradict myself a wee bit, we're not obligated to buy. It's a first option to buy. If the moves went Pete Tong, the player won't agree to the terms, etc., the move falls apart, and he's open then to trade, if you like, and he's open to any other club. That'll be Celtic's gift though at the end of next season, whether we want to keep Moritz Jens or not. And we get this season where we can watch him play. And it's going to be great. I think genuinely he must be of that standard of a Jota and a Cameron Carter-Vickers. I'm not trying to put more pressure on him. I just think the reason we're doing that type of loan to buy thing would strike me as that's a bracket of player that we're going to do that with. That's the level. And I think Moritz Jens in 20 minutes, you can see he just looks so natural. Even his passing, his technique. He's not having to think about, whether he's got two left feet or not. He's not needing to get his whole body turned round square before he plays a simple 10-yard ball. It's all very natural to him. Scott, Do you think the loan to buy option that Celtic are now clearly actively using is something that is a positive for the club?
Oh, definitely. But you've seen what's happened with, like you see, with Carter Vickers and Jota. I mean, how many times have you seen us buying like £4, £5, £6 million on an absolute diddy, basically? You've never seen play, and they just go and like splash the cash out, and it just doesn't work. Like you're saying this way, you get the advantage of like seeing them for the season, and then make your mind up, and it's going to save us money in the long run. Like, because we wasted how much money do we've wasted over the years on like guys that are just like not even worth the time.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think, Scott, that's a great point. But do you know what the beauty of it as well, Mark? That why I'm so drawn to these moves now. I don't want a team of loans with first options, right? I'm not saying that. One or two or some of them, Mark's not the worst road to go down. I'll tell you why as well. You've agreed now a market value on this guy, right? That doesn't reflect the campaign he could potentially have with Celtic going forward the next 12 months, right? We got Jota at 6.45 million. However, the last 12 months, we turned Jota into a 15 to 20 million pound player. So it's actually, you know, one of my favourite words, Mark, the optics are always very good. And we look like we're getting a player in at a bargain bucket price that we know, because we've got the body of evidence of the season just before, is worth way more. Cameron Carter-Vickers, let's be clear here, is a 10 million plus player, right? That I have no doubt in my mind on that. I'm probably being a wee bit moderate on that because you don't want to become a meme. But I think genuinely, if you look at the English transfers down there, Cameron Carter-Vickers is over £10 million, right? But we got an agreed price of 6 million, whatever it is, with add-ons last summer. So then he has this shit hot season for him. That price is set in stone. Jota at £6.45 million, Mark CAIRNEY, is an absolute steal. You know it, I know it, or I should have said, I ken it, you ken it, Patsy kens it. It doesn't matter, mate, because the fact of the matter is, Jens, I think, will be coming in again with a pre-arranged, agreed price because it's first option to Celtic. I don't know. People are asking how much that is. I really don't know. I'd be speculating. I think he cost Lorient £4.5 to £5 million last summer. I'd imagine they'll want that money back. And that's why after only a year there, they're giving first option. So let's just call it, it's £4.5 to £5 million. ITL, as we call it on the Bhoycie bus. Mark, I think it's an exciting move. Now we've seen you in what about yourself, bud? I don't know, did I break up there?
No, but I got your point, mate, and I actually totally agree. I mean, the option to buy offers so many advantages. First of all, it kind of gives you a safety net because, I mean, Scott mentioned Diddy's there. I mean, the two biggest tits at Celtic Park was Bhoycie and Barkas. Can you imagine we had a chance to buy them for £5 million if we had the option to buy? We could have saved a lot of money. So I feel like when we've got evidence that Jota and Carter-Vickers works, you know what I mean? If they have a fantastic season, great. We've got a price that's set in stone. They can't go above it. We can't go below it, I'd imagine. So it protects the club, you know, because I actually think that if we didn't have those options to buy, that we wouldn't have been able to afford them. Bhoycie, I don't think, even Carter-Vickers, if he was 12 million, I don't think we would have speculated there. I think we were just let it to be known to everybody that it wasn't a deal we could afford, and you probably see him end up at like a Norwich City, like the team we played yesterday, for 10 million or whatever, and we couldn't afford that. So, it is frustrating, and the one I always go back to, Bhoycie, and is a player that I think could have been an absolute legend for Celtic, was Craig Bellamy. You know, we missed out on him for about £500,000. I think Celtic were. I know Celtic. The story he says was Celtic. He wanted to stay at Celtic, and Celtic never offered him a deal. You know what I mean? And same with Ramon Vega, but I feel like at time.
Just to jump in on that as well, very quickly. See the two examples you just gave there. Blackburn Rovers and Watford.
Yeah, I know.
That's where those two players went instead of Celtic. Don't tell me they wouldn't have wanted to have stayed.
No, and exactly. And I think Ramon Vega was speaking to a fan on Twitter, and he says that I wasn't given the option. I asked, can I stay here? And the phone call never came, and he said it was made very clearly that Celtic would need us to try and buy him. And I actually think, I'm pretty sure I read that Craig Bellamy had said something similar, but at the time it was said that Celtic were going to go to 5 million. I think Blackburn paid 5.5. And Craig Bellamy wanted to stay. In fact, if I remember right, he didn't report back to Newcastle for training. He was still floating around, hoping the Celtic deal would go through, and he didn't report back to training for Newcastle. He ended up going to Blackburn. I mean, that's a backwater if you ask me. Although we've got a lot of history, but that was a long time before that. But Bhoycie, you know.
They were wearing a Lonsdale kit. That's what offended me the most, Mark. See, when Lonsdale's making your kit, I mean, Lonsdale, I just would be like, I'm not even signing, mate. No, I don't even care what you're offering me. I'm not wearing a Lonsdale. What's the tracky tops like? Lonsdale? You feel like you're going to the sports soccer or something, man. No way.
They've had a few, and they doing that in England. But I mean, even like the Rangers. I mean, do I could talk about them? But some of the sponsors they've had, Puma, fucking. Who's the other one?
Hummel.
Diodoro, Hummel. The one they've got in Newcastle. It's supposed to look like a wee 2 wings. It looks like a moustache sometimes. They put it upside down and they put it wonky. There was one I seen and the Rangers took to the park and see the strip at the back. I know that Jimmy Bell, he was a CAIRNEY kit man. I don't know why they loved him so much, but seeing he was putting the names on the back of the strip, he was putting them all wonky and all the rest of it. They just looked awful. There was one time with Kenny Miller and see the R stopped at his shoulder blade. He just went like that. He must have been fucking hungover when he did that, you know. And but God rest his wee.
But speaking of kits, it leads us on to the final wee segment of the show because Scott, that is a belter of a kit that you're wearing there. It was at the time a notorious move that Celtic made when they came out with the Bumblebee kit. No one had seen anything like it. I remember it was spoke about so much at the time. Was it ugly? Was it bogging? Was it unbelievable? What's your sort of memories of that top at the time? And obviously you've bought it because, it takes you back, probably, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah.
Who's the player springing to mind, Scott?
It's going to be like Larson and Cadet and DeCanio, guys like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, at the time, I thought the strip was like ugly at the time.
Did you?
Give me your first, like you say, when you're not used to it, when you've not seen anything like that with that kind of like brighter colour.
Mm-hmm.
But then years later, you actually see it like again when you're buying the retro tops, and you're like, fuck, that was a great top. But you didn't appreciate it back then at the time when you were like 15, 16-year-old. You know what I mean?
That's it's interesting because I actually agree. I think the first time I seen it, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. See now, Matt, that's iconic, the Bumblebee kit. It's absolutely iconic. And again, it's one of those shirts. Does anyone else wear anything even close to that in football? Not that I can think of off the top of my head, definitely not.
No, I remember Hibs tried something very similar a couple of years later, and it was a fantastic kit with the Coq Sportif, but it was really nice, I think. But see, that time, I don't know if you guys remember, we went through a period of crazy erratic kits at Celtic, and in football, was that goalkeeper Campos used to design his own strips. There was a lot of wacky kits going about, and that one was one of them. And I had the goalkeeping strip that year. I bought the goalie one because it was a belter, and I thought the strip was eye-catching for the minute I saw it. I loved it, and we had a lot of really tasty players, the Canio, Cadet, Andy Tom, some right classy players. You know what I mean? And Larson wore it.
But many people forget. See, we'd only have worn it a handful of times. But I just think there's such an importance on kits these days, man. Right? And see, football kits, right? I wonder if they grow in their legacy and why. See, retro kits right now, Scott, for example, it's a big thing. I've got one I'm still waiting on coming in. I've got the black one with a sort of thin line. The thin line, that's on its way. It's been on its way for about 3 weeks, to be fair. I'm still waiting on it. But there's a reason you're drawn to all these retro kits. And I think the thing is with the kits back, whether it be the, whatever generation before this one anyway, any generation before this one, Scott, we're talking about 2 generations of teams there at Celtic. Henrik wore that kit, but so did Andy Tom, so did, Cadet and Larson never played together, but they both wore the kit. Why is that? Because you stay at 2 seasons out of kits. Now, I appreciate we've got money to make. I totally get that. And we've got commercial deals. But what a move it could be, Mark, by Celtic, if we were to say a home kit, for example, this home kit is going to be for 2 years, and even during those 2 years, we bring back, we bring out, 2 away kits both those years, right? Fine, because you've got to coin it in somehow. But imagine us having one out the 3 kits, last for 2 years, feature regularly. What folk don't realise is there's a legacy thing on that, and Adidas will then be able to relaunch that 10 years down the line. Because see the big companies right now, they will be looking at the sales of retro kits, and whilst they might not matter too much to them, Umbro will see Scott wearing that and go, oh, our name's getting used left, right and centre in these remakes. They've missed their trick, because kits hold value once they become symbolised in the fans' mind. I don't really feel Celtic have kits anymore that become that iconic memory in your mind anymore. And do you know the reason for that? It's because they only last 1 year. Some of them don't even feature in a season, obviously that grey and pink one. Even last year, the white one with the pink sort of pinstripes, I think that was used twice. What's the point? I think you'd be better. I think kits can become a legacy thing. And I also think for the fans' point of view, it keeps a wee bit of the romance there. Also, would it not be brilliant if you had a kit for 2 years, Mark, and it was able to be a kit worn by the team week on week, every other week, whatever it may be, and yet it was affordable to the fan because it was in the second season. The price was dropped from the scandalous 65, 70 quid mark to a more moderate sort of 45, 50, and it makes it that more affordable for the average Joe as well.
Oh, totally, Bhoycie. You're talking maybe about 70, 75 quid by the time you maybe add a name on the back, or you get a championship patch on the side. It's ridiculous. I got the cinch on mine just to wind up the Rangers fans, to be quite honest with you. But I don't care. But I feel like we've spoken about this, Bhoycie, and I feel like when kits are worn for maybe 2 seasons, they create memories for people, and that's where a lot of this retro kit comes from. Like, there's a wee kind of nostalgia about it, a wee bit of romantic nostalgia. Where football, whether we like to admit it or not, is memories. You know what I mean? It's watching players in their kits, and it's watching players with your family, whatever it is a day, and watching Celtic. And when you're playing a season in one kit, the kit can be like almost like what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes obsolete after only a few months. I mean, you buy a kid that at Christmas, Bhoycie, and they're not even going to get to the summer. They're going to get 2-3 months with it, and see if it would actually be. Can you imagine the optics, as you say, for Celtic to come out and say, we appreciate where people are financially just now. We are going to bring out a home kit for 2 years, and away kits are going to be every season two new kits. Now, Celtic could use that goodwill to sell maybe a third kit, a fourth kind of European kit, or use that goodwill to maybe for folk to spend money in other ways in the club. I think it was Man U started this season after season thing. I think they're one of the first clubs. If I remember right, Bhoycie, they're one of the first clubs to really take advantage of I use that word advantage because that is the word. They're taking advantage of fans, you know what I mean? And folk want to wear this season's kit. Like, see that kit he's wearing there? That's a glorious kit. I've got it in the drawer, and see if you wear that kit.
Do you get drawers in an interview room, Mark? Right?
Yes. Well, it's no drawers. It's my lawyer's desk, Bhoycie. But see if you wear like last season's kit, you almost feel like you almost feel like a tramp. You know what I mean? But whereas the retro kits, it's wrong because it's. I'm not saying anybody that would look at you different, but you almost feel like, oh, I'm wearing last season's kit, and it's probably subconscious or maybe it's conscious. I don't know, but I just feel like we're missing a trick here because the longevity, as you say, but we're also. Can you imagine it for the club? It'd be a shoe in. What a PR stunt that would be for the club to say, we understand people are really struggling just now. Okay, we're going to keep the kits at £70. We can't haggle with Adidas anymore. It's £70. That's it. But what you're going to do is you're going to be saving money because you're going to get to see your stars, your heroes wearing it for 2 seasons, and that be a good move for a club like Celtic, who is still got a long way to go. I think to be a family club and a club for the people. You know what I mean? No, we are the people, but a club for the people. And say instead of this big corporate monster that we're turning into.
I think you're right, and it really is. Again, we're always on here trying to have debates that maybe stimulate people's minds in a different sort of angle, right? There may be a different sort of talking point that we debate often. And I think we things like this though are shoo-ins for the club, mate, to still make plenty of money, but come over being the good guy. Be the good guy, you know? And I always feel that even if it was 70 quid, the 3 kits are 70. See that following summer when they're going to wear it for the second season, it will drop. It would drop because it's a year old. That's what used to happen back in the day. So but fans don't feel part of it still, but they've got it at a more affordable price, a 45 or 50 quid for that second season. But they're now part of the gang, wearing the same kit. I mean, I just think it's a really good idea. And I also think for the generations now that are young, growing up watching, there's a reason you are so drawn to these older kits. And it's because when you've looked back through, and I don't doubt the youngsters watch the DVDs, the YouTube clips of all the old teams, there's so much content on there of Celtic wearing the same kit, so many icons in the same kit of different, even though they're different teams, like different teams of personnel, like I'm saying with the Larson Cadetti thing, they're still in that kit. That kit, they're going, wait now, that's true monsters. You know what I mean? Absolute legends wearing that kit that never played together. I want that kit. It doubles down the, you know what I mean, the draw to it, the pull to it. When we've only got it for one season and it's getting a handful of runouts, I think that draw dilutes a wee bit. And again, I think from the monetary side of it, I still think Celtic would make absolute vast amount. I think it'd be a PR brilliant move. And I think, you know, it would also have us giving a wee bit back.
Well, here, boys, when I first bought this in the 90s, it was only £30. Come on, I mean.
I know. Well,
you know what I mean? It was like...
It's wild, eh?
Yeah.
You probably did the same for it now, but it was a remake.
It was actually 25 when I bought it now, like, but...
That's all right, eh? But no wonder people are drawn to that as well. They want to wear a Celtic kit. If you can get a remake that's probably a better template, like design, for 25 quid, or you can buy the new one at 70. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of money, Bhoycie. I mean, I always make sure that I've got the money buy for it because I like to use. I'm an idiot. I told you before I'm a fool, but there's a lot of fools out there when it comes to Celtic, and it's just I think it's a bit cheeky when you're asking for that kind of money after like a family of four. Like even Dale, how many strips does he need to buy every match, every season? He must buy about 10 strips. The time he kits them all out, that must be a fortune. And I just feel like it's a wee bit of something that the club could absolutely give themselves great PR by. I mean, they could even do it, and I mean, see the families that are saving that money next summer, they might go out and buy the new training range shirt. You know what I mean? They'll probably still spend it, Bhoycie, but the optics say it looks great, and as you said, it'll maybe give strips a bit of longevity as well. You know what I mean? It's win-win. But as much as I think it's a great idea, and the two of you agreeing, I just can't see clubs using their brains and. You know what I mean? Bhoycie, this is the same week that we discussed that people paying 500% more than the markup price for chips. You know what I mean? So, no, it's for a pie. So the markup the chips is something like 1,000%. That's another story. But
well, Mark, on that note, I mean, I will get you at the Superstore at 4 p.m. with a pipe in my hand because you're allowed to go to football, a £5 poker chips, and a kit that's 2 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been the Sunday Blether. See you.
Deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.
Thank you.